Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, and we're coming to you from the Grand Hotel. The policy conference put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce is happening this week, and yeah, we run into all kinds of important people. It's so good to see you, T-Ran, Bankers Association, Michigan Bankers Association. Um, how are things? Do we still have money?
Chris, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be with you. It's always great to be with you at this conference. Yes, there's money. There's money to lend. Uh, Banking is strong in Michigan and around the country, and it's just a great privilege to represent those bankers around the state who are working hard to make dreams come true for individuals and families.
Well, they are, which brings me to the next question regarding the Federal Reserve. When are the rates going to get back to?
I've got a little slip of paper here in my pocket that I can give you that's got all those predictions, including Michigan lottery numbers.
Oh,
And so I'll give those to you, and
last year you
they
tried to sell me
I
those.
do try to sell those to you. Well,
The Federal Reserve, obviously, and the director's here.
yes, we've got the president, Austin Goolsbee from the Federal Reserve in Chicago, and like you, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat
Yeah,
waiting to hear Mr. Goolsbee's thoughts.
yeah.
And what a respected guy and leader in the industry, and we're looking forward to hearing his thoughts as well.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I sit on an advisory board for the Detroit branch of the
Yes,
Chicago Federal
yes,
Reserve, and it's really interesting how they call the information they need,
right.
and then you see them stand up, and unfortunately, it's becoming more of fighting a political issue
Yeah.
than an actual economic issue. So
Yeah, there is some of that. There
yeah,
is some of that, and that is unfortunate.
it's a bit of a worry,
Yeah.
but banking is in good stead. Mergers still happening.
There are, and that'll continue just with the nature of where we are and regulatory issues and so forth. Although we're seeing, I think, some with the new administration, some more common sense regulation
Mhm.
returning, which is important to not. You want to have a safe and sound banking industry in this country. I mean, we have the envy of the world, and we can't take that for granted. We
Yeah.
cannot take that for granted any day. And I think as a nation, sometimes we do.
Well, it's kind of interesting because having been on bank boards for close to 30 years, there
So you're
was a
still
time we were running out of people. Okay.
yeah, okay.
But the point I was going to make was simply that there are times when we have overregulated,
Right,
when banks had money to lend,
right,
but weren't allowed to lend it by the
right.
regulators.
Yeah, and that's that's challenging. That's challenging as well. But I think we're getting back to some common sense, which will be important and impactful for the bank's customers and the communities they serve. Because banking is as strong as the communities that we're in, and that's just so vital to economic development in our state, which we are all in favor of.
You know, I
Favor of.
I have to tell you, years ago, I worked in Riga, Latvia, the country. They were dealing with entrepreneurship, how to do it. They didn't know they'd been occupied for 50 years, and banking,
Uh-huh,
because the local banks had folded in tough times, taken all the money, and
uh-huh.
now people didn't trust the banking
Yeah.
system. And so we were trying to recruit foreign countries to come in.
Okay.
The bottom line of that is if you don't have a solid banking system,
Right. Which we do.
you don't have a system.
Gratefully. Gratefully we do.
Yeah.
Gratefully we do. All sorts of safeguards in place for that.
And thank God for the regulation that we do have. And I know
Yes.
sometimes it's cumbersome,
And sometimes it can
sometimes
be.
the problem, but
Sometimes it can be.
yeah.
You want to be compliant, but you don't want to spend all of your time doing compliance.
So what are the biggest challenges right now in your set?
Well, I think housing continues to be a challenge in Michigan, not only for the customers that we serve, but in some communities as we are recruiting bankers in, having sufficient housing for all levels of the bank employees.
Yeah.
That's a big issue. Moving Michigan forward positively, keeping an eye on on issues to make sure we don't get too far ahead of our skis.
Well, and you know that the housing issue too is an interest rate based circumstance as well. And we keep talking we need more affordable housing, but it's developers that do that,
Well,
and they can't make any money.
well, and and just the cost of goods have increased so much, and
Squeeze that.
how and where will tariffs impact? There are
Yeah.
just so many different aspects and so many builders. Seems like a long time ago, but back in 2008 and 9, so many builders just departed,
Yeah.
and there aren't as many builders
Yeah.
as there once were.
All
But
right. We'll get those low interest rates back out.
work on that.
Rann Paynter, head of the Michigan Bankers Association, bringing you money soon. We're coming to you from the Grand Hotel, where we're here for the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce's Policy Conference annually held here. I'm Chris Holman. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network.